Welcome to Spaghetti Launchers, the world-building podcast where we throw spaghetti at the wall and it is up to you what sticks. I'm Kyle.
I'm Ethan. Today's game is all about sport.
Sports is an interesting topic because it's not usually used in spec fic, and I think Quidditch changed everything, where it became like, we should all consider, because that's such an iconic piece of world building, and it is another spec fic, but that's the one that really, I think, changed the game.
For fantasy, yes.
Yes.
Sci-fi has been dealing with sports for much longer than fantasy has.
Yeah,
You've got Tron, all the video. I mean, granted, you're locked in a video game. You also have Ender's Game, where the battle school is filled with game, and the whole thing is treated like a game. So
like wargaming is
it's
a
a
sport.
huge part. That's all an extension. But in fantasy, yes, Quidditch changed. I'll give you that. Quidditch changed everything.
Pod racing in Star Wars. You have the Tron. You've got you.
My favorite is random. But in The Fifth Element, Chris Tucker's walking around. He's showing Bruce Willis to a seat in the big opera house, and he meets this big buff dude, and he goes, and here's Vic something, king of laserball. And I was like, laserball? The fuck is laserball?
Yeah,
Let's find out laserball. I want to see more about laser. I don't even like sports in real life that much. I enjoy them, but I don't have a team that I root for or anything.
Yeah.
I just want to know
You
more
wear a
about
Red
laser.
Sox hat like all the time.
That's a whole long thing.
Yeah,
It's a family thing. I like them, but it's not like I fought like the degree of sports obsession, which is to say what most people feel about sports is the way that we feel about fantasy.
Interesting.
I don't have that. Like, I don't have a team. I don't track stats. I don't do this. I do know directors and authors and
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
that
fair
shit.
enough. Yeah. You only have so much brain space.
But you like tennis.
I do. I love tennis.
Yeah.
But I like most sports. I just don't pay attention
Yeah.
in the way that I did when I was like in high school, where I actually did know stats and I watched ESPN every day and whatever. But I think sports, the older I get, the more I'm like, yeah, sports is a great way to tell stories.
Yeah.
There's a compelling amount of story in any type of sport because
Definitely.
they are human endeavors. They're human stories, and they're usually fun and lighthearted, and they have triumph and failure, and you get to root against the bad guys, quote unquote, because they're just like the team you dislike for whatever reason. So they're good fodder to be putting
It's
into.
interesting. There are some parallels to the hero's journey you just mentioned there. That's surprising.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally have a talented like young farming kid plucked out of obscurity because he's got talent at a sport, and have them go on a hero's journey just through the lens of sport.
Absolutely.
In a fantasy world or in a real and this
They do that a lot with teams like the Mighty Ducks, the 90s hockey, like that is a hero's journey.
Yeah, I mean,
It's with the team
have you
instead
seen
of an
Rudy?
individual. Rudy, fuck yeah.
I mean, and Rudy's a real story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
exactly. Same point.
In spec fic, it's usually going to be a background thing, like you said with the laser ball thing. Gears of War has like one of the characters is a professional thrash ball player. I think
Final Fantasy X has Blitzball.
and they're just like, well, this exists in the background. We'll never show it. We'll never explain it, but we'll just let you know it's a big deal, and these people are celebrities, and they're successful at a sport. That's it's like Australian rules football. No one really knows, but it's there.
Yeah, and you respect people that care.
Yeah. Shout out to our Australian listeners. I don't understand your sport. Some people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got really into rugby when I lived in South Africa. It was really fun to watch. Rugby
seems cool.
Spectacular.
I think any sport that's actually popular anywhere is fun if you get into it.
And all you need to know, there is a minimum threshold that you need to know to be able to understand. But even I watch enough cricket, I'm like, okay, now I can sort of see what's going on.
Yeah, and now I can.
Can get into it a little bit.
Yeah, there's a reason people like things.
Totally.
All right, well, then let's get into our teases for our sports that we're going to pitch today. What's your sport?
I can go the distance.
Oh,
I can pave my way. We are gonna get sued.
Well, probably not, because that wasn't on key.
Oh,
they won't recognize it.
Fuck yourself.
Mine is oddball.
Okay. I can go the distance. Sports are cool because you can really just throw a sci-fi or a fantasy word together with a sporting word and have it work.
Yes.
Like
you did this via text to me.
I know.
Listen.
Psychic football. What did I say?
Psychic decathlon.
Psychic decathlon. I said storm surfing.
Like fireball.
No. Oh, dodge fireball.
Dodge fireball. Fireball was from Friends.
Yeah, it is from Friends. Dodge fireball would be fun, but I was scrolling around like looking for a movie to watch, and Avatar, the James Cameron Avatar, popped up, and I remembered they had those cool like flying dragon creature things that they bonded with,
Yes.
right? And so that's what kicked off this inspiration. Then I started thinking, you know, what would be really cool? We have triathlons, you know, where you have to swim, what is it, like a mile, and then run a lot. I don't know much about triathlons, but you got to swim, you got to run, and you got to bike.
Yes.
And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if you had a triathlon, but instead of you doing it, you are trading between creatures that you've had to tame and train. But it is still a triathlon. So the first one you start off with, you've got like this mountainous peak, and you've got to ride a scaly, you've got to ride like a scaly desert lizard up the sheer face of a cliff, right? And then you got to get to the top of the thing, and then you got to get on your flying your flying dragonfly, you know, or dragon type creature, and then fly that, navigate through some narrow woods. And then the last one is you've got you get into the water, and you've got a big fish or a sea snake or something like that you have trained, that you have to then get through wade down through a river or swim underwater with, or something like that. So it is a triathlon, but instead of you doing it, you have tamed and trained all of these creatures, and you've also got like an earth, air, water, sky, land, water type thing.
So you're a jockey for each of these.
You're a jockey for each of these. Yeah. I don't care what the creatures are so much. That if you want like
that depends on the world.
Yeah, if you want the mountain thing to be a big ass mountain goat, do it. Oryx are great. They can fucking stand like vertical on vertical sheer, like they're crazy.
The idea on itself doesn't really need any notes. So here's a couple alts.
Yeah.
That you could do it in a sci-fi world where you have to mechanically build like 3 different types of vehicles or something.
Sure.
And so it's like, oh, you have to build a spacesuit, you have to build a bike, a motorcycle, like a Tron thing, and you have to build
a submarine.
And you have to build multiple devices, and it's a mechanic based like robot wars. You know, it's
like pod racing.
It's for mechanics, like Formula One. Half of it becomes the cars, and half of it becomes the driver.
Yeah.
You know, where it's some of that. I think you could play with it in that context. I think so. You could do where you aren't a jockey. It's your training and their like your animals or your beasts' ability to do this without you. You could even do it that way as well, where it's like
sort of like the dog show. Yes. Where it's like you're there, but it's the dog is doing the thing.
Yes, that was a part of what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's cool.
Also, based on the dog show, you could do it where it's not 3, it's like 10, and they're all like in a dog show like arena, where it's, you know, you have to train them to do multiple things. As a dog show, it's like, yeah, you have the one dog doing the course or whatever. But what if it is you have 10 creatures all doing the thing that they're naturally capable of doing, of like fly over here. Like, have you seen like those, like that drone racing is a sport now, or people like,
God help us.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I guess it's been a thing for a while, where you have to pilot a drone like through an arena or something, where they have all these little checkpoints and things they have to go through. They all have GoPros on them.
Yeah.
That kind of thing within like a space, within an arena or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. But I think your version's probably the best and the most spectacle based,
Sure.
but those are just some alts for it.
Another alt that occurred to me while you were talking, you could, so in D&D, wizards or anything with a familiar, you can occupy and see through your familiar's eyes.
You like pilot them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you're sitting stationary, but you have to warg into 3 different or multiple different creatures and prove your mastery of living in their bodies enough to do that. Or you could also do it as a shapeshifter, where like you have to prove your mastery of being a wolf, being a fish, being a bird, because that's part of the test to prove that you're ready to become an archdruid or something, that you can be part of these creatures like that. That's less a sport and more it
becomes a trial.
Yeah. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Quick question, because now it's driving me crazy, is where did the word warg become popularized?
Game of Thrones.
Is that Game of Thrones?
Game
Okay,
of
so I
Thrones.
thought it. Yeah, obviously. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, no, it's Game of Thrones. It's
Anyway,
when
it's whenever like
the white eyes and he
the-
gets into the bird.
into the three-eyed raven thing.
yeah. Well,
Anyway,
it started with one of the wildlings. It doesn't matter. The lore is not important. But yes, it came from Game of Thrones.
the lore is always important. This is a world-building podcast, motherfucker.
About that specific line, Kyle.
Anyway, as far as it, because part of a sport needs to be spectator-based.
Yeah.
So then the spectator, so like these courses, like I think that's why I was trying to be like, okay, what if we make it smaller so that it's easier to have spectators there? Mm-hmm. If it's, say, a full like takeoff, a couple miles this way or whatever, having spectators might be hard. And then you could kind of get into some fun, like how do people follow this? And what if you have like airships?
Welcome to Spaghetti Launchers. On today's episode, we're discussing cameras.
Well, no, I was gonna say like airships where people are like sit there in the stands, like on an airship, and they follow the course. So they're there, and then you create more spectacle and more of an atmosphere.
Sure,
this is for the elite. They book tickets on these airships. And they sit in bleachers, and then they just kind of go along with the track,
which would be interesting because typically floor seats, or the closer you are to the action, is the better seat.
Yeah.
But in this case, no, you would want to be up high so you can see everything.
You can see what's going on.
Yeah. That's an interesting flip.
Yeah. Because like think about like chariot races in Rome or whatever. It's like, the Circus Maximus was what, like the largest building in Roman history, where it's like, yeah, because it's really hard to create a space to do a race in any sort of situation. Like the biggest stadium I think in the world it might be in Pyongyang, but otherwise it's the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, because it's a huge track where people just go around in a circle. And don't get me started on how boring racing is to me, but I know people love Formula One now.
They love it.
Formula One is probably cooler, but like,
Formula One is very cool. I have thoughts on Formula One, all coming from the fact that I saw a video once where it was a Formula One racer going up against, I forget who it was, but it was a tight end, a big name tight end in football, doing a reflex test. And the Formula One racers' reflexes were so much faster.
Yeah, because they have to.
Which makes sense when you stop and think like, oh yeah, they're traveling 400 miles a fucking hour.
Yeah.
But you just don't think about it, right?
I think about it.
Well, good for you.
Anyway, I don't know. There's much more on this.
No, there isn't. But I was thinking a lot about like the Avatar dragons. I was thinking about that lizard thing that Obi-Wan rides in Revenge of the Sith.
That's a cool.
Right?
That was a really cool mount that was underutilized.
Really loved that thing. It had the great like whoop whoop noise. Like it was awesome. But I was thinking that's sort of the vibe I was going for and I like the earth air, the sky earth ocean thing, where it's a sport of, we're celebrating our planet,
Yeah.
Not sure why climate would be on my mind these days. Kyle, tell me about Oddball.
Oddball is not an original idea from me. It is an idea that I want to make work, and I want to expound upon it. This is a Halo game mode.
Okay.
As you know, I used to play competitive Halo. I'm a huge fan of the game, and Oddball is
Can be a Halo.
No. But so there's a multiplayer mode called Oddball where there's a skull that your team wants to hold on to, and as long as you're holding the skull,
it's a skull.
And if you're holding onto the skull, the ball, then it counts up the seconds that you're holding it. It's the time in which, and you win by having held the ball for like 200 seconds or something.
Sure.
But so then while you're holding it, you are unable to do much because, in this game, you have guns and you don't have your gun out, so you can't shoot, but you can't hit people at melee with the oddball, but people just shoot you from further. So basically you have a man down advantage or disadvantage.
Okay.
And you want to like turtle up in defense or do whatever you're going to do to hold on to the ball.
Turtle up is a fucking fantastic phrase, by the way.
Yes, it's a good phrase.
I've never heard it before.
Really?
No, never.
Oh, yeah. Anyway,
Never.
well, but so you want to hold on to it for as many seconds as you can to get score. And I think it's a really cool idea, and it's really fun in Halo. It works, especially if people are trying to get the ball, and there's a lot of strategies around it. Like, if you're like near the edge of the map and you're about to die, you throw the ball off the map so that it respawns in the middle of the map, and then everyone kind of has to find it again rather than the other team being right next to it. So there's lots of strategies around it.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I wanted to say, okay, well, how about we take that and make it work in any context. This doesn't have to be fantasy. It doesn't have to be sci-fi. This could just be also like modern, like urban fantasy, because it's literally hold on to something and have it count. But so then I was like, okay, how do we make it more fantastical? And like when you have the oddball, you move slower, slightly slower. So,
Okay.
So what if, you have to pick up this ball? What if it is a skull? What if it's a very heavy skull? So you have to, like, it slows you down, or maybe it has like a gravitational field around it so that you actively are under more gravity, something like that. And then it can, it magically is able to count how many seconds that you have been doing it.
Nice.
Or something to that effect. You put everybody, and you could do this over a large space, but like take a Coliseum. I'm using that as my framework because I think it works well as like an arena-based sport. Like take the actual Roman Coliseum where they would have like, you could have just flat sand and that could work. But then you have like obstacles and you have little structures that people can work around. And then you get to watch these people get the ball. And you don't need to make it you can make it violent in the way that football is violent, or you can make it violent in like, I think that's kind of what you need to do. You don't want to make it bloody and like people are cutting, like swords.
Then you're just gladiators.
Yeah. So I was like, but this is rugby in a way.
Yeah.
But you want to hold on to the ball and like play keep away, and you get points. And from that, I don't know, like that's where I wanted to like present it, and let's talk about how you can make it more. What are your initial thoughts?
You're gonna laugh.
I doubt
probably. I think I know that like firearms are sort of part of this. You were saying
in Halo, but not in my idea. I'm removing them because I'm trying to make it not deadly.
So I think this actually, I think would be really fun to have this be a game for monks to play in D&D, where they're just stunning striking
interesting, yeah,
each other.
Like okay.
And so it's hot because you have to get the skull. You've got to get the skull from like there's a physical component.
Yeah.
But they're allowed to stun you. So how do you get the skull from them, which requires physical contact, while minimizing the risk of you getting stunned and locked out?
I love where your head's at. I think this works in many ideas. I think you remove the monk thing and you just say it's like, say everybody has swords, where if you make like a solid like blow on the torso or wherever, it does stun.
Yeah, it locks you.
It locks you. So then, like, that's how because in these games, it works based off of respawns. It's like you kill the guy and then he respawns somewhere else in the map. And so you have a moment where you have an advantage. In this case, you hit them, you stun them for 3 seconds.
Yeah, you just get a stun stick. You get if they touch you, do you have to, as the player, the one holding the skull, do you have to touch them, or do they get stunned by touching you instead of the skull? Like, what if they're only allowed to touch the skull? If they make contact with your body, you're wearing a suit that shocks them, locks them down.
Because I think it should be, like, the point is for you to be fragile.
Got it. Okay.
So I think it works well as like, and the reason I'm like, make it a sword because then you get to have like the bit of a gladiatorial element of like people are actually fighting, and there's a skill, like you have to be good at fending off the other guys. So if it's just like a stun stick that you just go, meh, and you just kind of like, I win.
Fair.
Like, so I'm like, okay, well, so then it becomes like a fencing situation, and it has like a unique fencing element or unique dueling element like you get in Dune.
Yeah.
Where
that's what I was just imagining the shield.
There's like a special skill to like, you're not trying to grievously wound. You just need to make that contact. So it's like, okay, I hit you, you parry, and I just need to like quickly spin to just make contact with your chest. And if I can, so then like there's a lot more flourishes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're just trying to get a little bit of space to make contact to get that stun. And maybe the hardness of the hit impacts the length of the stun. I don't know. So if you like hit someone's leg, it'll just stun their leg. If you hit them in the chest, that will stun their whole body.
Right.
If you hit them in the arm, it'll stun
If you
their
hit them in their head, they immediately respawn.
Or they're like in like max stun.
Or something like that. Or like, I was thinking like ultimate punch, like they start back farther away from you.
Because then you're fully in sci-fi realm, I think, at that point.
Oh yeah.
Because then you're doing a video game.
Yeah.
Like I want to make it where it's there's like a magic enchantment to these weapons of some kind. You have it in a small enough arena where everyone can see and they have a good vantage point, and it's like pretty, and it's like 4-on-4. It's like pretty compact and you can really see what's happening, and you get to watch multiple of these duels going on and watching the guy with the skull try to get away and try to move around, and and then what shenanigans they can get up to, and maybe they do throw it up into the crowd every once in a while. Just crowd can hold on to it for a maximum of 5 seconds, and then they have fun, like everyone's like, hey, and they do like a little wave as they throw it around, and then they throw it back in the arena. Like you could have some fun with the atmosphere of it all and make like a good arena-based game.
Yeah, I think that's fun. I like it a lot.
And it's a good backstory for a character. It's like I'm
That's
a fighter.
yeah.
I'm a fighter because I'm a duelist because I play oddball and I know how to win these little duels.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
I think that's great.
yeah. Anyway,
vlogs.
so let's move on
Microwave
to
something for me, man.
frozen lasagna. Telekinetic based sport where it could be a race, it could be something else, but all the participants have to telekinetically propel themselves and get them to do things, or they telekinetically have to move a ball around a field to get it into a net. And so it's all based on like the strength of people's ability to use telekinesis. But this is a world where telekinesis is really difficult, and it's not like a super simple magic, and it's pretty niche. So then it's like they're not insanely capable at it. There's like a pretty hard limitation, and they just kind of move it around and move themselves in a race form, move a ball, whatever.
I like it.
Yeah.
No, I think that's great.
All right, move on to yours. Ding.
Super fucked up setting is a super fucked up superhero world where the game is how many people can you save? And someone is out there causing natural disasters or crimes or something, and you have two, Superman or Spider-Man style superheroes, and they're thinking like, oh, look how many people I'm saving, when not realizing it's actually super fucked up that you're putting people in danger like this. But the game is how many people can you save?
Yeah, I like it.
But you could almost say that would be fun because it could almost be like a Hunger Games planet-wide thing where you put all these superheroes down on a new planet with all of these natural disasters, and it's how many people, and then they start fighting each other to be able to save someone. Could be fun.
Yeah, could be fun. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to what stuck for us. What's stuck for you?
I mean, number one, I still have the Hercules song stuck in my head because great song. Secondarily, I like all of the alts that we came up with for mine about, the warging and the familiars and the having the, you're not jockeying, you're training the animals. I like that. But I think what stuck for me is two things stuck for me. One is that. Two, on yours, I almost replaced my own microwave lasagna idea with it, but I liked it, so I didn't. But I had the idea because you kept talking about using a skull as the ball in Oddball. I want there to be, now I have this idea of I want there to be it's a world where necromancy is really common, and the game is basically high stakes keep away, where you've got one skull and then a bunch of headless skeleton bodies that are trying to get it so that they can become a whole person, and you've got two necromancers that are basically playing monkey in the middle with this horde of headless skeletons.
All right, interesting. Well,
yeah, what stuck for you?
That wasn't what stuck for you. That was just that was
well, no, but now that because that idea came, that is now what I'm thinking about. So that might be what stuck for me.
Got it.
And Obi-Wan's little lizard bird feather mount thing.
Yeah,
with the whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
I think two things that stuck in me are like details in the alts of I really liked the airships idea because I feel like it adds like a fun visual spectacle, and it adds like a reason for a story to be watching one of these things because the story is on the airship. I really like that, and I like the stun mechanic that like was like that unlocked that was like. Here's my idea, and I needed the little unlock, and then you found it. I was like, great, that unlocks the idea. That now the idea works, and I really like that. So, and it's the simplicity of something like that. Sometimes the thing that you want is actually just right next to the thing that you can't have. It's like perfect,
right there.
Yeah, and you just need a little bit.
I remember once in college, I was trying to think up. I had to come up with a thesis statement for a final paper I was writing, and there was a word, and I could not think of this word, and I had like not slept for like 2 days, a standard college thing, and I finally asked a friend, I'm like, what is that? There's a word. It starts with an R, and I can't think of it, and my friend just looks at me and goes, reconcile. And I actually like got misty eyed because that was the word I was looking for like, wow. And I couldn't, and it's like, sometimes it's right there and it's all you need.
Yeah.
It's just that one word. And the rest it was like, thank you. You say the whole thing now.
Oh, beautiful. All right. Well, that's what stuck for us. Let us know what stuck for you. Emails in the show notes.
Thanks for listening, folks. Goodbye.